Bus passengers in the west of Scotland are likely to see big changes to the way services are run in the years ahead after the Transport Authority approved a return to locally regulated buses. There's concern, though, about how much that will cost and the fact that it'll take up to 7 years to set up, which means bus passengers may not notice much of a difference in the meantime. Here's our transport correspondent, David Henderson.
No more excuses! Regulate our buses!
A protest in the rain ahead of a crucial vote by transport officials. These bus passengers are demanding changes to the way their services are run.
Where I live is relatively, there's only 2 buses that go through that area, but you could be waiting, if one doesn't show up, an extra hour on certain days, and that can throw any plans or tasks that you had out the window that day.
They all are always late, they're mostly always late. In fact, I've given up on the timetable.
To address these problems, the Transport Authority, SPT, has drawn up plans to bring buses in the west of Scotland under greater public control, using a franchise system like the one that's being adopted across parts of the north of England. Manchester. Like Glasgow, it's had problems with public transport. Here, they've pushed ahead with radical changes to how people get around the city, especially by bus.
In Greater Manchester, the bus network is becoming very different from what we're used to in Scotland. Here, local leaders can set fares, routes and timetables, and bus companies have to bid for work in a planned network.
This new system's taken years to introduce and it's not yet complete. But some passengers I spoke to had noticed a difference.
I've got a B network pass that I pay £21 a week, which means I can get on any bus. So literally get on, hop off, jump on the next bus. Brilliant.
It's just a standard price now for how far you need to go.
Do you find yourself travelling more by bus as a result of that? Or what's it like?
Yeah, I used to get the Met because it was cheaper, but now I just get on the bus because it's only £1 to get me to my college.
The authorities here say they're already seeing more people travelling by bus.
I would just say to colleagues in Scotland, I mean, particularly in Glasgow, people have to make their own decisions. But the evidence from Greater Manchester is clear. Putting buses back under public control, improve services, it makes you able to recycle the proceeds into keeping fares low, and critically, it makes the people the bosses of the buses.
And back in Glasgow today, plans were approved for a bus network much like Manchester's.
The whole purpose of this is to ensure reliability, is to ensure frequency and to ensure affordability. Is to ensure there's a public bus network that meets all of our communities and that there is also democratic accountability over that. So that's what the future holds, but I have to re-emphasise it requires resources and it requires people to come to the party to put that in place.
There's concern among bus operators. One claims these changes could create a multi-million-pound black hole for taxpayers. So the price tag could be a challenge.
So, David, the big questions tonight, especially if you're one of these passengers we heard from at the beginning of your pack there, when is this going to happen and what's it going to look like?
Well, SPT say that they can introduce a franchise system like the one that's being rolled out in Greater Manchester within 5 to 7 years. They say that time is required to draw up plans, to consult and then put big contracts in place. So it's a drawn-out timescale, and they know it's too long. After all, they're the ones who are concerned and complaining about the state of the bus network. So they're also promising stopgap measures to improve some bus routes, contracts with bus firms to impose minimum levels of service and also to cap fares at an affordable rate. Those, they say, can be in place within about a year. But Sally, so much now depends on how much support, how much funding is provided, especially at the outset. Fares can be kept low, services can be restored if there's enough money available. So stand by for a long drawn-out argument about money and about priorities. SPT say that they need millions of pounds in extra funding, particularly at the start, so they can get the ball rolling, so that they can persuade people to come out of their cars and get on buses and get passenger numbers rising year after year.
David Henderson, thank you very much.